Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Jennifer Verdelin, also known as Dr. Jen, and this is a series, Women in Science, where I like to talk to other badass women scientists about the research they're doing, their hobbies, or whatever else they want to talk about. This episode features a very good friend of mine, Dr. Ramona Walls, and our adventure with some bones. So we're here at a site of a confirmed mountain lion kill. You can see all the fur, and there's a bit of a smell. And as we head over this way, we can see some of the intestines that are left. And it looks like the mountain lion got a young male deer. I'm here with my friend, Dr. Ramona Walls, and we are going to show you what it's like to take the bones, and we're going to clean them, and eventually it'll be a shining white skull. All right, so the first step is we're going to disconnect the head from the rest.
Well, that should be easy. Okay, normally I would have to get a knife in there, and I usually actually do it below the, I believe this is called the atlas bone. I usually do it below that bone because it comes off a little bit easier, and it's really hard to do a separation right here. Or sometimes even I just break it down in the spine.
What, is the condition of the skull pretty good?
The skull is in great shape, but if you notice, the tip of the snout has been bitten off.
Do you think that's where it made the kill?
I'm going to guess that happened during the struggle, because certainly that deer was not alive without the tip of its snout. So that must have happened either they just ate the nose. Mm-hmm. I don't know enough about. Oh, look, there's maggots inside the eyeball. Oh, isn't that lovely?
That is special.
There's some nice maggots in there too.
They're doing the work for us of cleaning that skull.
Nice and clean. Probably should have put on gloves before I do this, but
well, you know.
But well, it's not that gross. Just wash your hands after whatever you do. Wash your hands.
Wash your hands for sure.
Okay, cool.
Nature works to clean out everything for us if we're interested in them, but they're doing the job so that you don't have to dig in there and clean out all this fur and extra skin.
Well, the thing about the fur and the skin that's interesting is if we were to leave this, it would be really, you can see already that the skin is starting to dry onto the top of the skull, and that part is really hard to break down. The animals tend to not eat that, like along the top of the skull and the cheekbones, because it just dries on there, and there's not a whole lot of, I guess, you know,
it's not a lot of meat.
Not a lot of meat there for insects and things to eat. So if it were fresher than this, what I would do is skin it first thing, and then the insects and bacteria and whatnot would clean off pretty much everything. So in this case, we're probably going to have to soak it a little bit and boil it to get some of this dried on skin off here. Okay. Though we could bury it a little bit and let the beetles, if we keep it moist, that'll probably do the work for us.
So what are we doing now?
So normally I have a little, I have a little murder kit that I keep in the trunk of my car, which contains a hunting knife and some rags and wet wipes and things. But I don't have that car with me today, so I had to bring a kitchen knife and some rags and some plastic bags to put things in. Like I said, if this were fresher, what I would do is actually just cut off the skin and leave the skin here for the animals to eat. But everything's pretty much either in the process of rotting or dried on there. So I'm gonna just, you know, this is not like, I don't have a real strong protocol for this. I'm just gonna sort of pick off some of the loose bits here. I'm gonna take it home and I'm gonna put it in a very, covered up very loosely with dirt and keep it wet so that the insects can continue to do their jobs. It just so happens that I have a spot in my backyard where I do this on a pretty regular basis. So I've got a ongoing colony of dermestid beetles, and they'll come there and their larvae will eat, they just love nothing better than eating the rotting flesh off of dead animals.
Now, how long does it take? How long would it take for a beetle to do the job, do you think, on that skull?
It really depends a lot on the weather. But right now, because it's warm but not too hot and it's still moist, it'll be done probably within like a week or two.
So we're going to come back in a couple of weeks and be able to show our viewers what's happening.
Yep.
All right, so we have a good bag, and we're going to put the head in the bag. That'll help, you know, keep the maggots out of the car.
Yeah, right. Yes, you know. Even though I'm in my field vehicle, I don't necessarily want maggots crawling around in it.
True.
All right, and then this is really freaking awesome. So
now, is that unusual to find this?
Oh yeah. I mean, because usually, so it's interesting. You see, this happened right here in a wash, right next to a wash, and well, I'm sure that mountain lions kill deer everywhere, but we tend to find them in washes because that's where we can walk where the ground, where there's like a path. And so often the skeleton will be in the wash and it'll get tumbled downstream and broken apart. It's in a
Okay.
bag.
And so the same thing, will you bury this?
Yep, yep.
Okay, and then do you expect in the same kind of time frame, a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I would think so, yeah. Okay, so this is where I bury the deer skull. It's been more, I think we said we were going to dig it up in a couple of weeks. It's been more like 6 months.
Well, you know, we're busy scientists, so...
We have jobs. So it's right, you can see a little bit of it. Here's the ribs sticking up. Oh, ribs are no longer attached to the rest of the body, and there's the antler from the skull. So it should be very, very clean by now. Hopefully not too many of the bones have rotted because we've left it so long.
And just to remind everybody, it's the domestic beetles that help us by cleaning out. Their name comes from the Greek word skin, so they're also known as skin beetles. And a colony can clean an entire skull in 24 hours.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Oh, there it is.
I don't want to damage it.
Look at that.
Teeth.
So it's quite different from when we buried it.
Yep. But one of the really great things about doing it this way, instead of just like trying to clean it yourself with water or whatever, is you can see that the animals and microorganisms have completely eaten the brain. So a lot of the, when we found this deer carcass, it was actually fairly complete. I think a few legs were missing, but there was the whole spine was intact with the ribs attached to it, and so I buried that too. That's it.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah. Very nice. Ooh.
So it stayed intact.
Yep, yep. It's starting to, some of them are a little loose. You can see there's some of the gaps. But sometimes the tissue just kind of dries. Whatever that connective tissue is will dry and hold the pieces together pretty nicely. So we've got a nice deer spine there. A toothbrush is actually a really great thing for cleaning animal teeth. And I'm gonna be honest with you. The first time I did this, that I was brushing, I was like, I am freaked out that I'm sitting here brushing a dead cow's teeth with a toothbrush. But I'm so used to it now that I don't even really think about it. Oh, look at that!
Ooh.
I don't think this has anything to do with the skull rotting, but it just landed there.
No.
Isn't that pretty?
Very pretty.
I love the skulls and I think they're really beautiful and I want to bring them home, but it also makes me very sad. But I am an omnivore. I do eat meat. I don't eat a ton of it, but I do sometimes eat meat. And so when I paint the skulls, I actually feel this sort of connection to the animal that gave its life essentially so that I could eat meat and make art. Omnivore's Gratitude just seemed like kind of a cool name for my art business, and so I have a website called omnivoresgratitude.com or omnivoresgratitude.art.